This is Student Showcase.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Student Showcase, presented by the Broadcast Club at UWM. I'm your host, Sean Willey. This department last year received huge recognition in France. The UWM Film Department sent 6 films to the Cannes Film Festival, one of the most prestigious festivals in the world. Today we're joined by Robbie Ayo, Erica Frederick, and Josh Weisbach, and they're going to discuss their films and this amazing experience. But first, let's talk with Department Chair Robbie Ayo and take a look at his film, Of a Feather, a portrait of wildlife living within the Horicon Marsh. So welcome, Rob, to the Broadcast Club show. Let's first talk about your the objective of your film. It sort of was a portrayal of wildlife within the Horicon Marsh and sort of the daily life of those animals living within it. Now let's talk about, your filming of it and your objective behind this film.
My objective, Sean, was to capture a sense of the course of change over a year period. So I would visit there once or twice a week during a year, and especially during the transitional periods during the migration, which is world renowned for all of the geese and other types of species that come through there. So I would just go to various places where I had access and record sound and try to find images that I thought captured that energy and that sense of transition that occurred during the marsh. I was trying to go for the kind of the spirit of the marsh, the energy of the marsh as an environment that somewhat foreign to us. We're not used to being in places that are that wild and where we don't have any control, really.
Mm-hmm. Now there's two. When we talk about experimental film, that's sort of films that they're often characterized without a narrative. There is really no narrative to an experimental film as compared to a feature film, which has a given storyline. So explain, I guess, the differences in making a feature film as compared to experimental film, because in a narrative film you have a storyline that is followed, but in an experimental film it's sort of left to the imagination of the viewer. So how do you take that as a filmmaker and try to make a film out of that?
Well, there are many ways to approach filmmaking. One of them is to start shooting and see what emerges, see what narrative or what structure emerges. And some would argue that you could find a narrative in any type of film, any type of piece of work of art. They're not as predestined as, say, a scripted piece, a documentary or a dramatic narrative, or even an animation that often works off of a storyboard. But some filmmakers do, some experimental filmmakers do, work with a structure.
What do you see in the future for UWM Film Department? Obviously, with that entry you've been set up here, where do we go from here?
Well, that's a good question. A lot of people are asking that about all around campus. What's next for UWM? I think some really, there's some great possibilities, and with some support, I think UWM Film Department could really take a leaps forward. With some facilities and some equipment investment, and some investment certainly in new faculty. I think we'll be able to continue to improve on what we've already established.
Very cool, very cool. Well, thank you, Rob, for joining us on this segment of the Broadcast Club. But we do need to take a quick break. But when we return, we will be joined by Erica Frederick, a teaching assistant here at UWM, and of course we're going to explore her film and her career in filmmaking. Don't go away.
Things down as to what is just simply moving forward. At a time in my life where I was very new to the department and experimental filmmaking, I was trying to just break things down into the simplest formula. And for me it was like stop running and actually just walk forward, and with that, what happens when things just kind of settle down and you move through. It doesn't have to be him through his life. It could be anyone walking through any part of their life, emotionally, physically, spatially.
Now, that was actually your son in the film.
Yes.
So, very cool. And one thing I did notice also, towards the end of the film, the editing started to get more rapid, more, the leaves were, going throughout the...
What you're noticing is a green screen.
Right,
yes. I've built that green screen in my backyard.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was there? I mean, because up until then it was basically just a simple, you know.
Yeah, that was all. We actually, what you might find interesting is we actually took Malcolm's old baby carrier and used that as a dolly. And that's when we were filming him, you know, walking through. And then when we got to the end, I wanted different backgrounds, moving fast. And so we did, like you saw, the leaves and the sidewalk and other various things. And what we did is shot those very quickly and then put them on a green screen. So
cool.
Matted those.
Yeah. Now you're actually part of a program called Push UWM Film, which sort of, well, what it says, it pushes UWM Film, and that was one of the main reasons why these films got into the festival. So let's talk a little bit about your work in that and sort of what that program is and how you're involved with it.
Well, it was really an idea that came to me after being a first-year grad student here. I was so impressed with the body of work that not only the graduate program but the undergrads had here. And coming from the film industry originally, I was surprised that there wasn't more of an infrastructure to get out into the film festival market, which is a market that I know very well. So knowing that market, I kind of chose a bunch of films that I knew would play well in certain festivals, and tried to talk to Rob Yeo, who was wonderful in supporting this idea, and put together a slate of films and then pushed them into various markets.
I'd like to thank Erica for coming on this show, but don't move, because when we return, Josh Weisbach and of course will join us, and of course we'll take a look at his film and discuss his career in filmmaking. So don't go away. Well, now we are joined by Josh Weisbach, who he's gladly taking his time to discuss the film. So the first question is, editing, cinematography in this film was awesome. So explain, you know, why you decided to do it this way and how you decided to do it this way.
Well, Sean, there were 3 different processes I picked with this film. First of all, this was old material that I shot before I came to UWM. I'd spent a semester in Cuba studying film in 2007, and had this kind of a bunch of film that I'd used in other projects and that I hadn't used, and was interested in recontextualizing that footage and changing the meaning of that footage. First, I took some material that I did not manipulate at all. I mean, a lot of the film is treated, manipulated film, where I actually changed the rhythms, changed the material of the film strip. So I took this kind of like these quiet moments, and then juxtaposed them with 2 different processes where kind of chaos entered the situation. One was I stuffed a bunch of film into mason jars with avocado, and over time the avocado would rot and the mold would actually stick to the film and would eat the emulsion away. So that was kind of the footage you see where these kind of patches of white and kind of volcano-like red colors. That was with the mold. And then the other process I picked was where I threw a bunch of film into a pot of boiling water and put it in the water and waited until the emulsion got soft. And in itself, it kind of reticulated the film and made these kind of cellular-like structures on the film. And then I would move the actual emulsion around the film strip. And then, in addition, that kind of made these vascular-like movements, kind of like tree roots. And so was interested in juxtaposing these different kind of experiments with the film strip.
Right, awesome. Now, before the show, I was reading some blogs and I was reading some stuff, and some people have referred to you as an avant-garde filmmaker as compared to experimental filmmaker. First of all, is there a difference? And if there is, how would you react to that?
I think there is a difference. I've always thought of myself as experimental filmmaker. I think that's just kind of this umbrella term. Whether it's the right term or not is kind of how I identify myself. It's kind of the tradition of filmmaking I identify with. You know, avant-garde is traditionally meant as this kind of this term where people are always kind of creating cutting-edge, new media, new film work. And a lot of the different choices I make are based in tradition that aren't new. You know, it comes from film process, film tradition from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and New American cinema that I'm kind of drawn to. So, and that's kind of, in my estimation, that is experimental film. You know, I don't think I'm yet making film choices that are breaking boundaries or anything like that.
Some people would say avant-garde is art for art's sake, you know, and so, I mean, would you agree with that term?
No, not at all. I mean, I hate that term.
Okay.
Because I think it demeans the process that you're doing, and takes away importance from actually the artist's choice, that we're just making art and that it has no significance in a greater world or a greater audience or population.
Also, I'd like to add that the Milwaukee Film Festival, which just ended, had a 17% increase in attendance this year. Attendance was just over 36,000. So the film community in Milwaukee is definitely growing.